Hey folks, and welcome to the Pipnotic Symposium for the 13th of February 2020. Today let's have a look at UK oil. Okay, if we have a quick glance here on the monthly chart, you can see that we have this area of supply. It's a big wide one. We'll reduce that in a second on the smaller time frames, but price left here and we managed to move below this low. So there's a lot of selling pressure up here. We go to the weekly chart and have another look. You can also see here that when price left here, we managed to move through these lows. We had market structure that failed. You can see here. Okay, let's just remove this. This is a really big zone. We're not interested in selling at the bottom of that area. So you can see we have a pretty interesting area just down here. We had some gaps here. And then when price left here, we managed to close and trade below this. And also notice here that if you're familiar with the buy and the sell zones that we use at Pipnotic, here we have the beginning of the buy zone, which is just here, and this is close to where price went to. We didn't quite get there just yet, and so if you're looking to buy, I would certainly wait for a deeper push in price, because the buying, if we focus on this price structure just here, you can see that. Let me remove this first of all. So we had one period of accumulation. The price came down, accumulated, we moved higher the following week, and this candle closed above the high of this candle of accumulation. So what we do is we take the rectangle and we draw it from the low of the candle that closed outside of the area of accumulation or distribution for supply. We mark it to the low. So we have this. Okay, so this is an interesting area for us to watch. Oops, there we are, for a test. And we have not gotten there just yet. Okay, so we have price. Let's mark up a few different areas. So price left here. You can see, this kind of closed below that one, so we have something in here, tiny little area, and price is actually reacting to something here. We can't see what it is in here, but we can see there's a wick. When you see wicks, that tells us that we have some kind of a continuation pattern in there. Okay, so this, we had like a bit of a stop hunt here. Price tested this area once, twice. We went a little bit deeper. We poked into this area here, and this is where we found a lot of willing sellers at this area, and then price just started to move south and very aggressively as well. Okay, so that's what we have there. We have these areas of supply and demand. Let's have a look on the daily chart and see what we can do. Notice the trend line moving up like that. That's what it looks like, and we have kind of a lot of kind of gaps and whatnot just up here. And notice here that price had a really sharp wiggle lower, and we have a neat, interesting area of supply here. Let me have a closer look at it. Yeah, this one closed below, so it looks like this here. And this is interesting because when price left this area here, we managed to move below this low here. And this is an important one because if we focus on the beginning of the buy and the sell zone for this area here on this time frame, price managed to pull back. First it was here, then we move it down to here. So this is the deepest one. Price went through that and we moved into this child. So we had the parent below and then the child here. Okay, so that's gone. So price poked through that, and so we have this area just here. I'm just going to mark off the whole areas to kind of make it very visible. So we have something like that here. Okay, so this would be an interesting area to eyeball for shorter term shorts. If we have a look in this little area, which I like a lot, this is a nested area. We have price pushed down, we popped up, we moved sideways, a slingshot was pulled back, and then we went north. So we do have probably 4-hour demand in here, which we can't see on this time frame, the daily. So we'll go to the 4-hour and have a look. Let's see, hopefully my broker has enough data. Yes, now you can see it a little bit clearer here, where you can see we have something like this, how these two candles are accumulation. This one closed above. The lowest low since the departure is here. So we have some interesting levels to buy at the bottom here. Okay, this one left from here, this one pulled back, and then we shot north. Then price managed to revisit this area here, which is the upper edge of this daily demand. So we go back to the daily chart, we scroll right. We have this down here, which is pretty interesting, nice and fresh, untested. Price went up, we went down to the beginning of the buy zone, and then we shot up. And so now we're looking to maybe move back down towards this area here. Okay, so we have this here. We also have on this time frame, okay, when price left here, we traded above this high. So we have from here to here. Okay, it was tested, now it's gone. What area did it? This one did. So we have something in here. It's going to mark off the whole area. And so we have this area here that's interesting. We have this one here, which is lower probability. Why? Because we're really close to the lows, and so we'd be selling quite far low. And this one is just a little bit higher, closer to the origin, which I am more comfortable with. But if we have a look and divide this up into the buy side and the sell side, you can see actually that we have the buy side. Mark this off here. We have the sell side, and we have the buy side. I'll explain what these mean in just a second. Because that's what we have here. The reason I say this is, I mean, what we do is we mark off the low or the high, depending on prices moving lower to the high, and price that moves down. This becomes the beginning of, or rather the sell side of the market. So we're not allowed to do any buying at any any demand that forms in here. We're not allowed to do any buying, okay, because this, everything that happens in here is a reaction to demand that is formed on this side, on the green side, which essentially is where the demand is, because retracements are reactions to demand, okay, in a push higher. Okay, and so there's no buying allowed here. We're only allowed to sell here. Okay, and you can see this pretty clear. This normally works pretty well, because you form these nice areas of supply that take out the demand that's over here. We don't really have a lot of demand in here, but you can see that we have this one here, which moved below here. We have this one here, and this one managed to cut through all of these little micro areas of demand here. And so these are areas that we can expect price to react on in the future. Okay, and then we have all these micro areas as well. We have, this didn't do anything. When price left here, we moved below here, so we have something here that we could trade. Price came to it, and so we're only selling on this side of the chart. Okay, there's no buying here or here or here. Why? Because I mean, you want to focus on where the real buying is going to happen, and that's on this side of the market. Okay, and then price is wriggling higher. Are we buying? No, we're not. We're waiting for price to react at supply on this side, or demand on this side of the chart here. Okay, and so we're still selling, so we can sell. We have like supply just here. We have a little bit of supply here. This is less interesting, and we do have what appears to be market structure that is beginning to break down. If we have a closer look at that, let's go to the 4-hour chart where it's clearer. You can see these kind of lower lows and lower highs. So we have the trend line, in other words, market structure, and this has started to break down. And so this is telling us that we have this downward trend is taking a bit of a breather, and we're slowly having we're starting to form an uptrend on the 4-hour chart. You can see here these lows. It's a really kind of gappy symbol, this one, so it's not very pretty to look at. But we have this. I mean, if you look at these ones here, these daily areas, we have a little bit more clarity on the 4-hour chart. And if you look at this, I mean, this isn't interesting at all, is it? So I would, matter of fact, I would mark off this, which is slightly more interesting. And I would get rid of that. This is where the real departure originated from. And if you look at this, I mean, this isn't interesting either. If you look at this, I mean, there's a lot of trading in here. There's no supply here. Okay, none. You want to look higher. And we do have, I'll draw this off. We do have this, and this is interesting because this looks like a distribution candle. And notice as well, this is important, that we had this level was respected quite a few times, and all of a sudden something moved through the lows here. So there's micro demand in here. Let's see if we can find it. Okay, so I just mark this off like that. I'll go to the hourly, see if we can find it, because I think there's probably something in there. It's not very clear. Let's have a look on the half hour. Okay, I had to pause and find it. We have something here, and the reason I'm choosing this is because this is simply the price point that price returned to. We tested it once, twice, 3 times, and then all of a sudden we cut through it. This brings our attention to something very differently than this one here. And what is that? Well, that's this one right here. Here we have supply, and here we have a little bit of supply, but I don't like this above, so I will take the lower one of the two, remove this. So this is what we have, and you can see this as well on the 1 hour chart. Okay, so we can turn these into 1 hour symbols. Let's just mark off this whole area. It's kind of an ugly one. And we do the same for this. We have this very clear departure in price. Okay, good. So that's what we have there. We have a couple of areas that we can watch. These are a lot further up. There's no supply here. Looking at this, I mean, there's not a lot. I mean, if you look here on the hourly chart, we can remove that. We can say, actually, here's the supply. This is not supply. This is supply, and it's generally higher than the area that you can find on the bigger time frame, and so it can really pay off to go down to the smaller time frames and refine entries. So we have this beautiful departure. Price came down and we moved sideways just for a handful of hours, then we gapped lower, and we have not been back since. And so the beginning of the sell zone is here. So no selling below this price, and that's for this structure here. So when I say that's for this structure, it means that once price comes back and reacts off that, it means we're not selling again on the next approach. So the first approach only means selling up here. This is 60, about the 62.50 area here, and then there's nothing here, and then we start to see something up here at the, what is that? I can't see. 67.50 area. Okay, so we have a couple of areas that we can watch. This is interesting. I like this one. I like this one as well. This daily area is gone. It's not pretty on the smaller time frames, and this is where we're getting all the detail. So we do have a couple of areas to keep an eye out on. Okay, on the UK gold. So that's interesting there. And again, if we look here, you can see that we're forming lower lows and lower highs. The most recent major low has been removed. We have lower highs. So probably going to challenge these lows just here. If we're looking on the weekly chart, notice as well that we had a nice push away. Price has been down to the low. And notice that this is the beginning of the buy zone for this area of demand. And the same as we talked about just here is we've formed the area. We have the big sharp cutaway. The slingshots pull back and then it leaves. So what does that tell us? That means for this area of demand, this is the cheapest, the most expensive price you want to pay for it. And price came very close to it here. It came just barely through it. Okay. So very interesting indeed. And we do have the same thing going on above price. Okay, let me remove these. So you can see for this little one, price left, we had the beginning of the sell zone was here. Just here you see the pullback. Came close, came very close. We finally found it, and then we came here. And so, I mean, price did leave. And so when price leaves like that, we cause market structure to fail, and we take out opposing demand. Well, then this makes this a valid area of supply, because market structure was broken from a push originating from this area just here. So that might be an interesting place that we can look there at the 66.80 and the hourly areas that we noted just below. Okay, but I hope that helps. There was a question about the UK oil in the symposium. Okay, let's have a look at something else. Not oil, let's look at something different. Let's have a look at, I don't know, the Kiwi American dollar. Okay, what's going on here? Well, notice, first of all, the monthly chart. What are we doing? Okay, we're still struggling on this area of monthly demand. Okay, price poked into it, we left, went to the opposing side. And note, by the way, that this area here was drawn on the chart years ago, and it was just saying, yes, you can buy here if you like. What happened when price got there? We bounced. And then when price was testing this area of demand, this area was drawn on the chart, and it was saying, yes, you can sell at this level here. And so these areas are on the chart. If you're trading the monthly and the weekly, I mean, they're there months and sometimes even years before price gets there. So there's tons of time to plan such a trade. It just takes a bit of patience. And we talked about patience in another video a while back. But you can see here that, I mean, currently price is kind of sitting up here, kind of poking into this area here. And if we have a closer look here, note that this area is formed, slingshot was pulled back to here. We poked into the slingshot. We caused market structure to fail. What does that mean? Well, that means that we're probably going to start to wriggle higher. That said, we do have some areas that we need to remove before, but you can see that we had extreme deviations in currency strength. You can see this is a really deep push. Okay, here, this is very clear on the weekly chart. We're starting to get this. We're having lower lows, we're having higher lows in the strength. So this is telling us that price may do something like this eventually once we manage to onboard enough people. But we're currently reacting at this, but we have formed this little area, these little rectangles here. Delete those, they're a pain. But we are starting to form this little area here, which is visible on the daily chart. Price reacted at this. We had a really nice push lower. We had this little area here, which is not so interesting, but if you focus at the lows of it, here's the area. Here we have the slingshot. Let's pull back to this area. You can see departure, slingshot, and then release, but there's not a huge release here. The price came quite close to it, but we did not manage to reach it. Okay, and so we have this, but this is, price has already been back to this area, and price has already been back to this area here. So this is kind of not so interesting for us. We have this as well, but price has already traded these areas here. The only area that I would consider for a buy is somewhere around here, which is a lot lower. And I like this area here because this is kind of the all-time low for this. Oops, wrong tool. This is like a low. When price left here, we moved up. When price left, the slingshot was pulled back and we departed. Price has not been back yet. Okay, so we're probably going to see the big turnaround from around this area here, okay, which we have not yet reached. So it requires a bit of patience. Okay, there's nothing here, mess, nothing but mess in here. That tool's not very flexible. Come on, stop teasing here. So there's a lot of mess in here, so there's no supply there. A little bit of a breakaway here, so maybe a bounce to that area there, but price has already been back kind of to this area, so I'd be looking to sell above this deep pullback. So I'd be looking to sell around here, okay, if I was going to sell this. Okay, so that's what we have there. Okay, for the time being, let's have a look on the weekly once more. Yeah, price is pretty low. We reacted to this nice weekly area. Price came there, we poked into it again. This box was on the chart when like this candle here closed. So years later, all this happened. Price came down, and then it went up. And this one here was formed when like maybe this candle closed. A year or so later, or 2 or 3, price went up to it, and then we left. It's crazy how supply and demand works. Okay, then we have another one down here. I mean, this has been on the chart for years. Has price gotten there yet? It hasn't. What happens when it gets there? Well, we're probably going to have a bit of a bounce there. We're starting to form something here. Okay, but as we look, this is not a terribly attractive area because price has already, there's just a lot of removing of areas here, which I don't like so much. But what we do have here, we do have this. It looks like we're forming a higher low. This makes me feel that price is probably going to do something like that. And if you look up here, we have some some sell zones here. I don't like this. I don't like trading below this because price has already traded around these areas here, which brings our attention to this around here. This is pretty interesting, and price has not been back to this area yet. So this is still like a pretty nice fresh area we could look to sell at. Alternatively, we have this area here, but I don't like this one either because price has already been back this level loads of times before, and so I'd probably want to look a little bit further left, higher. And then I can see this area here, which is okay. Price came down, we moved up, and then we cut away. Okay, so there's a lot of selling at this area as well. Okay, there's trading up here as well, which makes it less attractive, but we're very likely going to see some kind of a reaction to there. What we might do is we might move through the area towards and maybe run towards these highs before we see serious selling occur. And then above that we have this area here, which is nice. When price left here, we moved below this area here that was tested numerous times, once, twice, gone. This area here is the one that did it. So this is a nice area to sell at, but this is, potentially years away. Okay, but I hope you are kind of understanding the thought process behind this. 21 minutes, we'll do one more. Let's have a look at something weird. Let's have a look at the franc Japanese yen. What's this doing? It's range bound. How do you know? Well, we have a lot of like market structure failure going on over and over again, and you can see this because we have these little dots here, and we have gray dots. This one went below that, this one went below those, and we have gray dots above and below, and also we have and this dot indicator is it's called an origin indicator, and just shows you the beginning of buy and sell zones. Okay, so when when the software draws a little dot like this, well, this becomes the place that you want to look to buy at the lows here. Okay, so price comes here. Okay, we had a test of the demand here. We came to the buy zone, and once price finally goes through it, then it turns a gray, and then it means that you want to be moving your buy zone. Okay, so then it goes here, and you have this one here. Price went through it. Okay, went deeper, and it went deeper yet, and then price kind of found some support, some support for price at this area, and this is where we turned around. Okay, but so this is essentially the beginning of the buy zone for this price structure here. For this price structure here, you want to look for the deepest. You want to look for the orange one, which is this one. Okay, so this then becomes the beginning of the buy zone for this price structure here. Okay, because it's just showing you where price has and has not been yet. And if you look at this price structure, we have gray. Okay, so it was here, it was tested, so now we go higher. We have this one, price went there. We have this one, price hasn't quite gotten back there. And so you can see that once price manages to move to these levels here, we're probably going to attract some people who are looking to engage in this symbol and drive this lower. Okay, and we have a pretty nice area of supply just up here, and even nicer one just up here. So there's a lot of things to do here. We also have this beautiful area of demand right here, child. We have the parent over here. So there's lots to look at here. But notice here that we're having market structure is intact. We're continuing to move higher. So if we look on the daily chart, we can have a look, and from this price structure here, from the high to the low, then we can begin to look at the buy zone is from here to the high, and the sell zone is from the high to here. Okay, so now we mark off Where's the deepest retracement since that? The deepest retracement is here. Okay, so you don't want to sell here. Why? Because we're in the green side, we're only allowed to buy here. You want to look at supply in the red side, and you can see we have the beginning of the sell zone is here, and this lines up nicely with this little box that was drawn. So this is tested once, and so what does that mean? That means that you want to sell at a price no cheaper than the high of the deepest retracement since this area of supply was formed. Okay, so price tried to have a go, we failed. What does that mean? That means that we're wriggling, we're trying to move higher, and nothing has happened. And it hasn't happened because we simply have not found the real selling, and the real selling will probably occur once we move above this high here. Okay, and then it brings our attention to a couple of other areas here. This has been tested, so you have to be a little bit careful. Will it hold? Well, look what happened the last time price went there. We went up. Oops, wrong thing. Price went up there, and then we left. And we did not come back since then. Okay, and so I think once price moves above these highs here, then we'll probably start to attract some selling. Okay, good. Well, I'm gonna leave it at that. I hope this was a little bit useful, kind of dividing up the buy and the sell side of a price structure. This really helps you to sit on your hands and wait until price reaches your price points on the correct side of the market. Okay, well, if you have any questions, please send them in. And once again, thanks for watching.